Hey everyone. In this video, I want to talk about a really serious and important topic that one of you suggested to me, which is how to handle living in an emotionally abusive environment. And to jump right into this, I want to say the very first thing you should do, if possible, is leave that environment. So this video is more meant for people who are unable to leave, be it if they're living with emotionally abusive parents and they don't have the resources to move out on their own just yet, or similar situations, because your first goal should always be to get the heck out of this situation if possible, because you just don't want to stay in an emotionally abusive environment. So I would even say this is the kind of thing that should break up marriages, even with kids involved, because if somebody stays with an emotionally abusive partner for the kids, they're going to raise the kids with a horrible example of what a normal relationship is like, because the kids are going to watch what their parents are doing and think that that's the way relationships are. So I would say get the heck out of any emotionally abusive situation, even married with kids. So anyway, that being prefaced, now I'll jump into the tips that I believe will help you endure living in an environment like this. So the first thing is realize that you shouldn't take the abuse personally. Don't think that you're at fault here. It's not on you. The other people involved in this situation are the ones who have problems here. It's their own issues, their mental health and other things that are causing them to be emotionally abusive. It has nothing to do with you, even if they try to act like you're at fault here or that you're the reason that they are abusive in the way that they are. So do not internalize or take what they say to you or what they do personally. It's not on you. Please realize that. That's the most important thing from the beginning. You are not in the wrong. You're not a bad person. So never take their abuse or never internalize their abuse and think that you're doing something wrong. So realize it's always about them in these situations. So that being said, avoid being around them if possible. So if you're living with emotionally abusive parents, try to limit your time around them as much as you can. Go into your room and close the door if they allow that, and if they don't, just find ways to get out of the house or just to be with your friends or to just be anywhere but near your parents, because you just want to limit the time that you're around them so that they don't impact your mental health in a negative way as much as you can. So do whatever you can to get out of that environment for as long as you can until you have to come back to sleep and eat and that sort of thing. The next thing, avoid conflict or arguments with the emotionally abusive people. So yet again, if it's your parents, if they start talking off or arguing with you or saying harsh things to you, try to bite your tongue as much as possible. I know it sucks, believe me, because it's being inauthentic. You want to say something back, you want to defend yourself, or you want to at least stop their abuse because it's not right. But in this situation, you should just bite your tongue and not say anything back, because the more you rile them up by arguing or saying things back to them, all you're going to do is make them become even worse with their abuse, especially over time. So the right thing to do, even though it sucks, is just to remain calm and basically take the higher road, be the bigger person in that situation. And if you want, you can even kind of use this as a way of kind of pulling one over on them if you want, because I know it'll help, even though this sounds kind of bad. But just realize that the more you're able to stay calm and not give in to their abuse, you're a better person than they are. That will probably help you get through it, because it helps you realize that you're not to blame here. So that mindset may help as well, but definitely only use it with them. Don't use it with other people outside of that situation, because you don't want to go around thinking you're better than everyone. But in this case, I would say it is justified. So the next thing that I would say you should definitely do is do more of what you enjoy, more of the things that you love, because you're in an environment that's going to be very taxing on you mentally, and that's not a good thing. It's basically like being in a high stress job type situation. It takes a toll on you over time, even if you don't realize it. So to counteract that, you're going to want to do a bunch of things that help you de-stress and get rid of that anxiety, either in your mind or even literally in your body, because our body will hold on to a lot of stress and anxiety, and it will start to affect us over time. So do more of the things that you enjoy, whatever that may be. If it's playing video games, if it's reading, if it's going for walks, going to the beach, just being away from the emotional abusers, even if they're your parents, just anything you can do that you enjoy where they aren't able to ruin it, try to do more of those things. Just get your mind off of that environment and the way that they make you feel. Just go around and do more of what you love. So the next thing that kind of ties in with the previous point, I would definitely suggest that you should learn how to meditate, because this will really help with de-stressing and getting rid of anxiety from that environment. And meditation can also help you work through the emotions that they're making you feel, because this is going to be a big part of healing from this environment. You want to be able to feel the emotions that they evoke within you, but not act on them. You see, healthy emotional regulation is all about pretty much allowing your emotions, but not letting them master you by acting on them. And living in an emotionally abusive environment will definitely bring up a whole different range of emotions within you that you're going to need to work through, because if you try to suppress them and just shove them down, they're only going to stay lingering under the surface, and they'll likely rise up again in similar situations in the future, meaning they can affect your future relationships. Because if your partner or your romantic interest starts raising their voice at you out of frustration, even when they don't mean to hurt you, it could trigger those emotions from when your parents were yelling at you and emotionally abusing you in a similar manner. So you want to work on those emotions now so that they don't linger under the surface and affect you in the future when you don't want that. So as much as possible, try to just work through your emotions, which means fully feeling them, not judging the emotions and not judging yourself for feeling the way that you feel. I mean, our emotions just rise up within us usually. We can't really control that, right? I mean, can you stop yourself from being happy in the moments where you're happy? Can you stop yourself from being sad? Can you literally stop those emotions from arising within you? Probably not. I don't know of anyone who can. But what we can do is we can control our reactions to the emotions when they do arise. And what you want to do here is, like I said, just fully feel them, but don't act on them and don't judge them. That's how you work through them in a healthy manner. So that's another really important tip here, because that will really help you in the future after you're able to get out of this environment. And another important thing here is finding supportive people that you can talk to, people you can vent with, because living in an environment like that is going to take its toll on you. So you want to have healthy outlets that you can just vent to and get those. It helps with getting those emotions off your chest. It helps you with releasing as well. So finding a good supportive group that you can confide in will be very helpful in handling this emotionally abusive environment for as long as you're in it. And another important thing here is practicing positive self-talk. This kind of ties in with the last thing, because with enough work, you can turn yourself into a supportive person for you. You can start to confide in yourself. But this all stems from you practicing more positive self-talk, which means treating yourself like somebody you truly care about and love. You're not going to say mean things to them. You're not going to put them down, right? So start treating yourself that way. Start supporting yourself and cheering for yourself and helping yourself. Heck, you can even do this thing when the people are being emotionally abusive to you. When they're yelling at you, you can be thinking in your mind stuff that a supportive person would be saying to you, only you can be saying it to yourself. You can be saying, hey, look, you're not at fault here. They're yelling at you because they have issues that they haven't worked on. So just remain calm, be fine, and you'll get through this and you'll be fine in the end. You can say that to yourself as they're yelling at you if you're able to remain grounded and calm enough. So I would highly suggest learning, or just more of training yourself to have more positive self-talk, to be your own friend, especially in these situations, or at least after them, because sometimes it can be really difficult to think positively when you're having someone scream at you. But the next thing is pretty much tying into my first point here, which is work towards being able to leave this environment. That is so important. The longer you're in there, the more risk there is for you getting permanent hangups because of these emotionally abusive people. Like I said before, it could affect your future relationships and that sort of thing. And it probably will if you don't choose to work on it. So definitely work through this as much as you can while you're in that environment. But once you're out of it, you definitely want to focus on healing from it as much as possible. But until then, just work really hard on being able to leave that environment. Get a job if you're young or that sort of thing, or get multiple jobs if you need it to be able to afford your own place. Just try to get out of this environment. I can tell you the stress from having multiple jobs is going to be a lot less taxing on you than dealing with emotionally abusive people. So I would say do whatever you can to get out of that environment as soon as possible. And if you're not able to leave it right away, then just keep practicing these earlier bullet points. But on to the very last thing, and this ties in with what I was talking about trying to heal after you leave this environment. I would highly, highly suggest that after you're able to leave this emotionally abusive environment, that you get a therapist or some form of professional help. Because, yeah, like I said, that you're probably going to have a decent amount of hangups from that environment. And it's unfortunate because if it is your parents, it's something you can't change, right? Like, you didn't choose your parents. For as imperfect as they are, you didn't choose them, and it's unfortunate that they're able to affect you in this way and to be not great parents. I mean, I really wish there was some form of test or something, some form of training that they would give to parents so that they'd actually become good people and raise good kids and that sort of thing. But that's just, we don't have it in our society. Our governments don't care enough to make that a thing, but because of that, you definitely will want to look into therapy to help you heal. It's just such an important thing. And I can tell you right now, therapy is not a bad thing at all. People who say that are people who are afraid of improving themselves, and they're just judgmental idiots, because therapy helps a lot of people. So definitely look into it. And one thing I will say here is a bit of a caveat. When you're looking for a therapist, try to find someone who's the same sex as you. So if you're a guy, try to find a male therapist. If you're a woman, try to find the female therapist. The only reason I say that is because men and women think so differently that it's kind of difficult for them to understand each other, especially the way the other gender or sex thinks. So you definitely want to get a therapist who's the same sex as you, just so that way they'll at least be able to understand or have a better idea of the way that you think, because they're the same sex, their brain is wired the same way. So that's the last caveat, but I truly hope these tips will help you, and I'll actually go through them again just to summarize them in case you want to write them down. But obviously the first thing you want to do is try to leave that situation, but if you can't, then don't take their abuse personally. Avoid being around them as much as possible. Avoid conflict and arguments. Don't antagonize them. Do more of what you enjoy and love to de-stress. Meditate for your own mental health. And find supportive people to surround yourself with. Practice positive self-talk. Work hard towards being able to leave. And then finally, just look into therapy or other professional help after you're out of that environment. Anyway, I truly hope this video helped you, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Arrivederci.